was quite interesting to see that the Empowered Aid Action research shed the light on the importance of information sharing with women and girls themselves, because eventually we all know that information is power. And we really, with whatever we do, we want to give back the power again to women and girls. So that's why we made sure when presenting the cash program that we reached out to the women-led organization and let them really, and to, for example, women-led organization, domestic workers organization, organization for person with disability, all these marginalized, overlooked group were part of this information sharing about the cash assistance program.
Some of the best ways to engage a community is to be transparent, is to be inclusive, is to raise awareness, is to reach all of the community members, from elderly to women to girls to persons with specific needs.
One thing maybe that we learned during the dissemination with the community structures and the community leaders was not to make assumptions that people actually know what sexual exploitation and abuse is, because it has really been normalized in some of these communities. So starting off with the basics and trying to explain to people what sexual exploitation and abuse is, but also helping them give relatable examples of the things that are happening in their communities. And the more you unpack some of these things, then the community members really start to give you examples of things that are happening to them. And we know the more people talk about it, then they know that that is abuse and it's not acceptable.
What we did in UNHCR is that the moment the presentation was out, we shared the outcome of the study with our management, and particularly also with the SEA focal points in the field offices. And of course, we also reflected the findings in our yearly action plan. So basically, the recommendations were taken forward. At the time, I also encouraged this to be presented at the SEA interagency, which it was. And I believe, I mean, I don't know to which extent funding is also available to continue this, but I wish that after a few months, after 6 months, a year, we go back to the study just to say, okay, all of us who were engaged in this study, what did we do? What did we achieve? Where did we? I don't like to use the word fail, but where did we fail? And what is it that we need to learn from to advance more and more? Because particularly in topics related to SEA, it's all about pushing boundaries, and it's all about increasing understanding to overcome this issue of fear that prevents us from acting upon it.
Yeah, precisely speaking, we had joint dissemination workshops, but we focused disseminating to stakeholders, like coordinating partners, both OPM and UNHCR, and then other partners that were involved in distributions. This was done together with IRC, and then also we had the community distributions whereby we invited community members and community leaders to disseminate the findings.
So through my work with Empowered Aid, I found that a lot of the aid workers appreciated the findings and recommendations of Empowered Aid because they take on this preventative approach against sexual exploitation and abuse rather than waiting for it to happen and then taking action. So a lot of the aid agencies can take the recommendations and findings of Empowered Aid and mainstream them in their programming to help fight against sexual exploitation and abuse before it happens. Also, all our recommendations and findings can be found in a toolkit, and that is also really helpful because we have put all of our findings and all of our recommendations in one place with clear definitions and clear instructions on how to use them, how to collect the data, and how to analyze the data.
Actually, all the tools developed through this project, the Empowered Aid project, were really done in a very participatory approach. You can see the voices of women and adolescent girls in those tools. And they were really developed in a very participatory manner because in the technical advisory group that really, as I said before, provided input on the tools and their safety, we had really the top-notch expertise in the country in terms of GBV and PSCA expertise.
Of course, these tools would be recommended to other partners because there's a sense of increasing in SEA, but underreporting. And that's why we need to raise awareness regarding complaint mechanism in addition to the incidence reporting.
I recommend these tools to other aid agencies as well as to national institutions working in each country. These tools can be used. These are action-oriented tools that are based on full research tailored to two different regions. If I remember well, it was Uganda and Lebanon. We tried them in both countries. So aid agencies working in those two contexts can use these tools, but also other aid agencies working in other contexts can just retailor the tool as per the context, as per the social context they live in, and use them.